What's the time? What's the time? It's Kids Church time. It's Kids Church time. What's the time? What's the time? It's Kids Church time. It's Kids Church time.
Hey there, my name's Teacher Felicia.
And my name's Teacher Owen.
And today we are on part 2 of
Firm in the Faith.
And today we learn more about Daniel.
Yes.
And how he stood firm in the faith. What's the bottom line for today?
The bottom line is that I will say no to things that are wrong.
That is right. Okay, while we're on that, would you rather have dirt?
Ooh.
Or would you rather have ice cream? We all scream for ice cream.
You see, Teacher Felicia, I think I'm going to have to go with the dirt, but I'll need some more worms first.
That is not okay. Like, ew!
I mean, Teacher Felicia, there's more nutrients in this.
No, Teacher Owen, you need to say no to things that are wrong and dirty. Don't eat that.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we'll see later on what other people choose. Hey?
Definitely.
But for now,
Let's all get ready.
yes.
Get your dancing shoes ready.
And your singing voice ready? Because we're going to go to a time of
Worship!
That's right! So stand up if you're sitting down and let's go sing.
Nailed it. Move on. Here we go. Lock up.
I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart for mine, and its unrelenting chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. On a oasis, here awaits us all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. When I let go and I find life.
Hey guys, my name is Teacher Felicia and I'm going to teach you guys the memory verse, and it says, be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything with love. 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 13 to 14. Do you guys think you can say that with me? Okay, let's go. Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything with love. 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 13 to 14. Well done! Okay, we're going to do that one more time, and I'm going to do the actions while you say the verse. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Well done, everyone! You guys were absolutely amazing! Don't forget to teach this verse to a friend at school. Okay, well for now, we are going to watch the story. Are you ready? Okay, let's go.
Hey kids, it's so good to be with you again, and today we're going to be talking about Daniel and his friends. We started learning about him last week, and we heard about how he and his friends had to move from their hometown in Jerusalem all the way to a strange new place called Babylon. And because Daniel and his friends were royalty, and because they were doing really well in their learning, they were selected to be part of a special group who would serve in the king's palace. Now, this seemed like a great opportunity, but there were a couple of challenges that Daniel and his friends faced. The first thing they needed to do is they needed to make some new friends, and we learnt about that last week. We can make new friends, even if they're different to us. And Daniel and his friends had to learn a new language, and they had to learn a new way of doing things. And some things, it's okay to learn new ways to do them, but other things, you've got to be careful to know which things are the right things and which things are the wrong things to do. Today, we're going to be looking at how brave Daniel was when he stood up and he said no to things that were wrong. Now, it's quite a tricky thing to figure out what things are right and wrong, and then when you know, to stand up and say, I will do the right thing and I will say no to wrong things. Let's read in Daniel chapter 1 and see what happened. It says that the king gave Ashpenaz an order. Now, Ashpenaz was the chief of Nebuchadnezzar's court officials. The king told him to bring him some of the Israelites. The king wanted them to serve him in his court. He wanted nobles and men from the royal family. They were going to be trained for 3 years so that they would be ready to serve the king in his court. And this took a lot of training and time and effort. I'm sure they had to do quite a lot of homework and assignments during that time. And they were learning how they could do things well in the palace. And one of the things that they got to do is they got to eat the food, the same food that the king and all the other royalty in the palace ate. But there was a problem with the way that they did things in Babylon. Now, Babylon was a place where there was a lot of idolatry. Idolatry means that people worship idols. They say that these are gods that they want to honor. And one of the ways that they showed that they honored their gods is they would bring the food and present it to the gods before they would take it to the king. That was one of the ways that they showed the gods that they honored them and that they were worshiping them. And now all the people who ate the food that had been offered to the idols were then saying, we agree with worshiping that idol. Now that was a problem for Daniel and for his 3 friends, because they believed in the one true God, the maker of heaven and earth, and they did not want to serve or honor these other gods. And if they ate the meat that had been sacrificed to these idols, they would be saying that they were happy to serve these other gods. What would you have done? The food looked really tasty, but when you eat it, you're honoring something that you don't believe is right. Let's read and see what happens. Daniel decided not to make himself unclean by eating the king's food and drinking his wine, and so he asked the chief official for a favor. He wanted permission not to make himself unclean with the king's food and wine. God had caused the official to be kind and friendly to Daniel, but even so, the official refused to do what Daniel asked for. He said, "I'm afraid of the king. He is my master. He has decided what you and your 3 friends must eat and drink. Other young men are the same age as you. Why should he see you looking worse off than them? When he sees how you look, he might kill me." And so now Daniel was even in a bigger predicament. He didn't want to eat the food that had been sacrificed to idols. He didn't want to drink the wine that came from the king's table. But the official that was in charge of him said that he had to do it. He said, "Everyone else is doing it. You'll be fine if you do it." But Daniel knew in his heart it was the wrong thing to do because he didn't want to honor the idols that they worshipped in Babylon. Now, he's tried his best to stand up and say, "I don't want to do it." But then the person in charge said he still has to. What would you have done? Would you have thought, "Well, I did try and stand up for what was right, but yeah, it's really difficult. Maybe I'll just do what everyone else is doing"? That's not what Daniel did. Let's read and see what he did. Daniel then spoke to one of the guards. The chief official had appointed him over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And Daniel said to him, "Please, will you test us for 10 days? Give us nothing but vegetables to eat, and only give us water to drink. And then compare us with the young men who eat the king's food. See how we look, and after that, do what you want to." And so the guard agreed, and he tested them for 10 days. That was quite a bold move for the guard to give him the freedom to say, "I'll give you 10 days to show that your God can keep you strong and healthy. Even though all the other young men your age are eating meat that had been sacrificed to idols, and I'm sure it tasted fantastic, even though all these other people are having fancy wine that they had dedicated to their gods," he said, "I'll give you 10 days. I don't think it'll work, but let's give it a go for 10 days. And God did something amazing. God blessed Daniel and his 3 friends, and they were healthier and stronger after those 10 days. It says, after the 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthy and well. In fact, they looked better than any of the young men who ate the king's food. And so the guard didn't require them to eat the king's special food. He didn't require them to drink the king's wine either. He gave them vegetables instead. Now, you might be thinking that maybe vegetables aren't that exciting, but I know that when we choose to do the right thing, God blesses us. And Daniel had chosen to say, "I am only going to eat the food that I know is safe and clean and good for me." He said no to the fancy food that had been dedicated to idols because he didn't want to honor another God. He wanted to show that he was worshiping and serving the one true God in everything that he did. Isn't that amazing? And it says, because of Daniel's decision, God gave knowledge and understanding to these 4 young men, so they understood all kinds of writings and subjects, and Daniel could understand all kinds of visions and dreams. We're going to learn next week a little bit more about what happens with dreams. Do you dream dreams sometimes? Sometimes dreams can just be fun, but other times dreams can have special significance. We're going to learn about that next week. Let's see what else it says about them. It says the 3 years that the king had set for their training ended, and so the chief official brought them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them. He couldn't find anyone equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and so they began to serve the king. He asked them for advice in matters that required wisdom and understanding. The king always found their answers to be the best. Other men in his kingdom claimed to get knowledge by using magic, but the answers of Daniel and his 3 friends were 10 times better than theirs. Wouldn't you like to be 10 times better than the other people around you? That's what Daniel and his 3 friends had when it came to the end of their 3 years of training. But the reason why they were better is because they honored God. They said yes to the right things, and they said no to things that are wrong. They would not honor the other gods that were in Babylon. They wanted to stay true and worship the one true God. And I want to challenge you. Do you have the courage to be like Daniel and his friends and to make sure that your decisions are good decisions and that you will say no to things that are wrong? Even if other people are doing it. Even if somebody in charge says that you should do it and it'll be okay. Even then, we need to have the courage to say no to things that are wrong. It says in 1 Peter 3 verse 12, the eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and his ears are open to their prayers, but the Lord turns his face against those who do evil. So you can know when you choose to do the right thing, and when you say no to wrong things, God is watching you. He wants to bless you, just like he blessed Daniel and Daniel's 3 friends. He is going to watch over you, and he's going to hear your prayers because you choose to do the right thing. In 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 22, it says, say no to every kind of evil. We need to say no whenever those temptations come on. Some of them might be easy to say, that's a wrong thing to do. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to be nasty to other people. But sometimes they're going to be things that seem okay, but they're actually not. Sometimes it might be things like the tasty meat that Daniel and his friends looked at. I'm sure they looked at it and they thought, wow, that looks tasty. But they remembered that that meat had been sacrificed to idols. Sometimes things might look okay, but if you have a look behind it, you might see that it's actually something that goes with other things that are wrong. And we need to have courage, just like Daniel did, to say no to things that are wrong. Are you guys going to remember that? We're going to take a few moments to look at some discussion questions about what you think about saying no to things that are wrong.
Teacher Owen,
Yes, Teacher Felicia.
I hear that you have joined a new school,
I did, yeah.
and I heard that it was quite
It was a pretty rough time.
Let's go look what you did.
Let's go look.
What happened? This is Owen. Owen is at a new school, and he wants to really fit in. And he realizes that there's a group of cool kids around him. and he wants to look just like them so that he can fit in. So Owen realizes that, you know what, these kids are really cool, but they don't say no to doing things that are wrong. And his mother has always told him to say no to doing things that were wrong. So he realizes that he cannot be friends with these kids. So he has to find new friends. So Owen finds new friends. Cool kids. But he soon realizes that their values just weren't adding up. So he decides to subtract himself from these kids. So Owen finds new friends. And they are really cool. They can play cards and do really fun stuff. They're really good at gaming. But then he soon realizes that these friends were two-faced and they were jacks of all trades. He can't be friends with them. So he decided that he will say no to things that are wrong. But Owen decided to be a master of one. So, Teacher Owen,
Yes, Teacher Felicia.
that was pretty rough.
That was a hectic time there, yeah.
Why?
Well, you see, some of those groups of kids, they just like doing bad things, and I was taught to say no to the things that are wrong.
Wow, that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So you stood firm in the faith.
Yes.
That is
was.
absolutely amazing. Reminds me of Daniel and his friends.
Yeah.
They stood firm in the faith when they were faced with the challenge of either eating the food that was sacrificed to other gods or to honor God and stand firm in the faith. Yes, and that's exactly what they did. And now, guys, let's go answer these questions and see that, like, what would we give as
Yeah.
answers? Let's go.